What's going on there, YouTube? Welcome back to another comic book video. All right, so we're going to do a full story video. A full story video is when I sit down and take a bunch of videos that tell one overarching story and combine them together into one big video. Now, today's full story video is going to be about Batman Knightquest the Series. As you all know, in the early 1990s, we had an event called Batman Nightfall. Now, at the end of Nightfall, we saw Bane being able to break the back of the Bat. But here's the thing, Nightfall was only part one of a trilogy. You had Nightfall, Knightquest, and Knight's End. But when it came to Knightquest, it was actually two different storylines happening at once. You had Knightquest the Series and Knightquest the Crusade. Now, we already covered the Crusade, which was more of John Paul Valley showing us him being Batman for a short period of time. But when it came to the Series, it was more of Bruce Wayne and Alfred going around the world to hopefully save the lives of two people, Jack Drake and Sandra Kinsolving. Now, Jack is the father to Tim Drake Robin, but Sandra was Bruce Wayne's latest lover. But also, when it came to the Series, it was also being used as a way to tell the storyline of Bruce Wayne sooner or later coming back to Gotham and being able to be the Batman once again. But first, he has to get his back fixed. And the storyline shows us how that happens. But either way, I do hope you enjoy today's full story video. Okay guys, so we're going to continue our coverage over Batman Knightquest, but now we're going to pick up with Knightquest the Series. Now, as we all know, when it comes to the Batman Nightfall trilogy, you had Nightfall, Knightquest, and Knight's End. But when it came to Knightquest, you had two different Knightquests happening at the same time. You had Knightquest the Crusade and Knightquest the Series. And so it did get a tad bit confusing when it came to the actual reading order for Knightquest because you had two things happening at once. So for example, when it came to Knightquest the Crusade, it was all about John Paul Valley becoming Batman and watching him be Batman and take on the different villains of Gotham City. But the Series is more of Bruce Wayne's storyline, where you have Bruce Wayne leave Gotham to hopefully find two people that were kidnapped back in Nightfall. And that will be Jack Drake, the father of Tim Drake, and Sandra Kinsolving, a woman that Bruce Wayne was madly in love with. And so the Series, the whole idea of trying to find those two characters and hopefully bring them back to Gotham. But also, it kind of kept fans happy about the whole idea of still seeing Bruce Wayne, even though Bruce Wayne was no longer Batman. Now, when it came to Batman the Series, it did take place in multiple different titles. And let me explain. So you had Shadow of the Bat, Tales of the Dark Knight, a Robin book as well to kind of help tell the story of, well, Batman Knightquest the Series. But the first two chapters of this storyline took place in Justice League Task Force. Now, in 1993, you already had three different teams when it came to the Justice League. You had JLA, JLE, the team in Europe. You also had JLQ, Justice League Quarterly. So you had three different books out there when it came to the Justice League. But for Task Force, it was a spinoff of the Europe team, another team working for the United Nations. Now, here's the thing about Task Force. You see, Task Force had a revolving door. You only had two people be in every single issue of this series, are the long-term members of the team. And that would be Martian Manhunter and Gypsy. Besides that, everybody else was coming and going. Matter of fact, Dick Grayson, who was Nightwing at his time, he was part of the team as well at the very beginning. And then he also dipped out. It was a revolving door. It was kind of like DC was trying to get fans involved or fall in love with other characters, other DC universe. But either way, the first two chapters do pick up in Justice League Task Force. Now, the first few pages of the first chapter of today's video is honestly kind of funny to me. Now, when it comes to Bruce Wayne, we have to remember this man is still recovering after having his back broken by Bane. So he's in a wheelchair. Now, his wheelchair has been upgraded thanks to a character known as Harold. But either way, we do see that Bruce Wayne and also Alfred went over to Santa Prisca. And the reason why, because all the clues they found back in Gotham City said, hey, we got to go here to hopefully find Sandra and also Jack Drake. And so when you have Alfred and also Bruce arrive, they're then confronted by some assassins. Now, for Bruce Wayne, he's able to use the wheelchair that has been upgraded thanks to Harold as a way to fight off at least some of the assassins who were sent after him. Now, I'll explain why these assassins are coming after Bruce and Alfred later on in this video. But for right now, we see Bruce Wayne being able to hold his own. Now, real quick, can I say it's pretty funny to see Alfred say, hey, Bruce, you know what? You should listen to the radio. I heard that rap music is really great right now, and you should listen to Big Daddy Kane. I found that pretty funny because that is actually a rapper's name. Either way, once you have Bruce trying his best to fight off these assassins, somebody else does appear to help Bruce out. And that would be Bronze Tiger. Now, Bronze Tiger first appeared back in Richard Dragon Kung Fu Fighter issue number 1 in 1975. Now, for Bronze Tiger, he was trained by a character known as O Sensei. Now, O Sensei is one of the greatest fighters across DC Comics. And so when he trained Bronze Tiger, he also turned Bronze Tiger into one of the world's greatest martial artists. Now, unfortunately, you did have Bronze Tiger be kidnapped by the League of Assassins, who then turned him into one of the world's greatest assassins ever seen. Now, he was able to fight against their programming and become a great superhero. And matter of fact, he's part of the good old task force team. Now, for Bronze Tiger, he was called here by Bruce Wayne for a good reason. And I'll explain why here down the road in this video. But for Bruce Wayne, he's kind of happy to see Bronze Tiger because you do have Bronze Tiger being able to take down these assassins. Now for Bruce, he's kind of like, yes, I did need his help, but I want these assassins to be able to get away so that we can find them later on and to then hopefully find Sandra and also Jack Drake. And so you have Bruce being able to gas Bronze Tiger to allow the assassins to get away, to hopefully find them down the road in this storyline. Now, when it comes to Bruce Wayne, he does tell us that he called up the bosses of the Justice League Task Force to get Bronze Tiger and other members over here to Santa Prisca to basically help out to save the lives of Sandra and also Jack Drake. And so you have Bruce, Alfred, and also Bronze Tiger go over to a nearby hotel. Now, guys, real quickly, when it comes to Bruce Wayne, he does look a tad bit different. And the reason why, because, okay, when it comes to Bruce Wayne, he is pretending to be himself. Yes, you heard that right. It's Bruce Wayne pretending to be Bruce Wayne. Now, for Bruce, he believes he has a good reason why he is pretending to be himself. And I'll explain why here in the second chapter of this video. But either way, you did have Alfred, Bronze Tiger, and also Bruce talk about what their goal is with all three of them being in Santa Prisca. While you have all three characters talking to one another, we kind of find out another member of the task force is there as well, and that would be Gypsy. Now, like I said earlier, when it comes to Justice League Task Force, you had two characters who appeared in almost every single book, Martian Manhunter and also Gypsy. The rest of the team was, again, a revolving door. You had some folks come and some folks leave by the next chapter when it came to the series. And so for Gypsy, she was also called in by Bruce Wayne to help out with this mission alongside with Bronze Tiger. Now for Gypsy, she has a huge ability when it comes to illusions. She can do so many different things with that kind of power, but for today's video, it's really more the idea that she can turn herself invisible by hiding in plain sight. Again, the whole idea of illusions. We kind of find out that for Bruce Wayne, the reason why he had allowed that assassin to get away is because that assassin had ran over to the other members of his group. And most likely that assassin could be nearby Sandra and also Jack Drake. And so for Bruce, he was able to gas that assassin, but also put a tracker on him. And so now for Bronze Tiger and also for Gypsy, they can follow that tracker to hopefully find Sandra and also Jack Drake. Now, while you have our heroes having this conversation, out of nowhere, you do have another assassin appear, try to kill off Bruce Wayne. But the very last second, he's saved by Green Arrow, who's also part of the task force team. He was also called in by Bruce Wayne as well. But for Green Arrow, he's kind of just keeping his distance at the moment. But either way, our heroes do now have a game plan when it comes to hopefully saving Sandra and also Jack Drake as well. Now, we do see Bruce Wayne and also Alfred call in over to John Paul Valley and also Tim Drake to check in on how John Paul is doing as Batman, but also how is Gotham doing as well. Now, because you had Knightquest the Series happen the same time as Knightquest Crusade, this takes place before all the mess that went down between Robin and also John Paul Valley. It takes place before you had John Paul Valley go down the deep end. And so right now for Tim Drake and also John Paul, they're kind of on the same side and they're kind of like working together. And so you have Bruce tell Tim like, hey man, don't worry. We're going to do our best to bring your father home. So guys, just sit tight and dad be home very soon. Now, we do learn here that when it comes to the assassins, the reason why they had attacked Bruce and Alfred at the airport is all because somebody in Gotham City must have tipped off the assassins that two people, it was three, because you did have Selena on the airplane as well, but she had disappeared. But either way, somebody back in Gotham had tipped off the assassins that two people are heading over to Santa Prisca, and most likely they're looking for Sandra and also Jack Drake. And so that explains why you had our heroes be attacked at the airport, but also at the hotel as well. Now, when it comes to Bronze Tiger and Gypsy, they do find a hideout for the assassins. Now, we do learn here that they were hired by a character known as Mr. Asp or ASP. I'm saying Asp. But either way, they were hired to get Jack and also Sandra for this person, and they're waiting for him to arrive. Now, you do have the assassins find out that the one they sent after Bruce Wayne at the hotel had technically failed. And so now their goal is to send more guys over to the hotel and just blow it up. So we see an army of armed guys with rocket launchers just go over to the hotel and they just fire away, sending rockets into the hotel, blowing it up left and right. And so we're kind of left to believe that in the possibility that Bruce Wayne and Alfred are, well, officially dead. Now, as you all know, they're not going to die here, but we're kind of left at first like, oh my God, the whole entire hotel just got blown up. There's no way they have survived that entire explosion. Now, when Bronze Tiger and also Gypsy arrive back at the hotel to find the whole entire building has been blown up, they now truly believe that Bruce Wayne and also Alfred are officially dead. And so they're right now in their feels about the idea of losing two people they had just met. Now, you do have our two heroes being surrounded by some of the assassins who had just blown up the hotel. And they do attack Bronze Tiger and also Gypsy, but you do have our two young heroes being able to take them down very easily. Now, we do kind of find out that Bruce Wayne and also Alfred, they are alive. They were able to get inside some kind of shelter. Now, this is where I explain the whole idea of why you have Bruce Wayne pretending to be, well, Bruce Wayne. Because for Bronze Tiger and also for Gypsy, it's going to be hard to believe the whole idea that Bruce Wayne came out of his way to come over to Santa Prisca to hire different members of the Justice League to help out with this situation. And so for Bronze Tiger and also Gypsy and also Green Arrow as well, they're going to believe it's somebody else who is pretending to be Bruce Wayne as a way to get some special treatment. But in reality, Bruce Wayne is back in Gotham. And so for Bronze Tiger, Gypsy, and Green Arrow, they're currently thinking it's somebody else who's pretending to be Bruce Wayne so that he's able to keep up with his secret identity life. But getting back over to Bronze Tiger and also Gypsy, their main goal now is to just continue on and try and save the lives of both Jack Drake and Sandra Kinsolving. Now, when it comes to the assassins who currently have them, they got a plan of their own as well too, to release wild dogs around the property as a way to make sure that nobody will be able to sneak their way into the building to save the lives of Jack and also Sandra. But for Bronze Tiger and Gypsy, they have no choice. They have a job, and that job is to go ahead and save those two people. But once you have our heroes being able to make it back over to the building the assassins are currently using, you have Bronze Tiger send in Gypsy to sneak into the building. Now, while she's trying to sneak into the building, Bronze Tiger is then confronted by the wild dogs the assassin had released earlier. Now, for Bronze Tiger, he is able to hold his own against some of the wild dogs, but one of them were able to get the jump on him. Now, at the very last second, you did have Green Arrow appear once again. Now, we do learn here that for Green Arrow, like the others, he was brought in on his job, but he was told to kind of stay back just in case anything pops off, kind of like a backup plan if things go south very quickly. Now, for Green Arrow, he's kind of like Bronze Tiger and also like Gypsy. They don't believe that Bruce Wayne was really Bruce Wayne. They believe it was somebody else pretending to be Bruce Wayne. Either way, you have Green Arrow and Bronze Tiger agree to work together with Gypsy, who's currently out of the building right now, to get the job done. Now, the rest of the book is really more of Bronze Tiger, Green Arrow, and also Gypsy working together to hopefully save Sandra and also Jack. Now, here's the thing, and I did not really say anything about this, but for Jack Drake, he's not feeling well, very sick for a lot of reasons. But for Sandra, as a doctor, her main goal is to take care of her patient. But the assassins would not allow her to take care of her patient. And so even though you have Green Arrow, Bronze Tiger, and also Gypsy being able to get inside there, they get her at least and tell her, get the heck outside while we try our best to save Jack Drake. You have the assassins carrying Jack over to a helicopter. Now, this helicopter does belong to their boss, Mr. Asp, who we're going to see in later videos down the road when it comes to our coverage over the search. But either way, you didn't have those assassins being able to grab Jack Drake and get him on the helicopter. At the very last second, you had Sandra, who had ignored directions that were given to her by Bronze Tiger and Green Arrow, and gets onto the helicopter as well, which basically means Homegirl just got recaptured by the assassins that she just got away from. And the reason why? Because she's a doctor. She got to take care of her patient. He needs her. And so she allowed herself to get recaptured to go along with them. And the chopper, it flies away with the assassins, with Sandra, and also Jack, and our mysterious Mr. Character known as Mr. Asp, who's now in charge of the whole entire thing. Now, for Bruce Wayne, he's kind of upset about the fact that, yes, they had lost Sandra and also Jack. They may have lost the battle, but not the war. And so the storyline is going to continue on in another bad title book for our next video when it comes to Knightquest the Series. But this is where Okay, so getting back into our coverage over Batman Knightquest the Search, we do pick up today with some Shadow of the Bat books as a way to continue our coverage over this storyline. Now, just in case you are now just joining our coverage over Batman Knightquest the Search, I kind of want to explain what this was all about back in the 1990s. Now, when it came to Batman Nightfall, as we know, it was a trilogy. You had Nightfall, Knightquest, and also Knight's End. Now, when it came to Knightquest, the middle part of the trilogy, it was also broken up into two separate parts as well. You had Knightquest the Search and Knightquest the Crusade. Now, when it came to the Crusade, it followed John Paul Valley being the new Batman for Gotham City. When it came to the Search, it was more of following Bruce Wayne as he traveled across the world to hopefully save the lives of two people, Sandra Kinsolving and also Jack Drake, because they were kidnapped at the very end of Nightfall. Now, for Bruce Wayne, at first, he believed that the reason why Sandra Kinsolving and also Jack Drake got kidnapped must have been something going on with Jack Drake, that Jack was the target and Sandra, unfortunately, was just an innocent bystander who got pulled into the mess as well. But by the end of our last video, for Bruce Wayne, he began to realize that maybe Jack Drake was not the target, that maybe Sandra Kinsolving was the target, and unfortunately, Jack Drake got pulled into her mess. Now, when it came to Sandra, we had no idea that she had some kind of ability in Nightfall, the first part of the Nightfall trilogy. All we knew that she was a great doctor, a doctor that was able to heal people very easily. But when it came to Knightquest the Search, in our last video, we kind of got the idea that she has some kind of ability. And so today's video is going to expand on the whole idea of what her powers can truly do. Last thing we have to remember before we dive into today's video is that when it came to Sandra Kinsolving, it does seem like somebody is after her, and that person would be a character known as Asp. Now, we have no idea who that character is, but today's video is going to begin the process of us learning who is this character and what is his connection to Sandra Kinsolving. And so we dive into Shadow of the Bat, issue number 21, as the first chapter of today's video. Now, we do pick up in London, England. And the reason why, because when it comes to Bruce Wayne's search for Sandra and Jack, well, his search took him over to London, England. Now, we don't pick up with Bruce Wayne at first. Matter of fact, we pick up with a character known as the Hood. Now, when it comes to the Hood, he's a vigilante in London who's based off Robin Hood. You know, the whole idea of stealing from the rich to give to the poor. But at the same time, he still goes after usual criminals in London as well. Either way, once you have the Hood being able to take down some thugs doing some illegal activities, he then sees the bat signal. Now, once he does see the bat signal, he realizes that it's Batman trying to call him to have a one-on-one conversation with one another. Now, once you have the Hood find Batman, you didn't have the two characters being able to have a one-on-one conversation with one another. Now, we see Bruce Wayne in the Batman suit, but we cannot forget that when it came to the tail end of Nightfall, we saw Bane being able to break the back of the Bat. And so when it came to Knightquest the Search, the earlier parts of the storyline is really more of Bruce Wayne still in a wheelchair are still recovering from his recent back injury. And so we're kind of left to wonder, how in the world is Bruce Wayne able to stand up straight and have a full-on conversation with the Hood? Now, we are not able to learn at first how in the world Batman is able to stand up perfectly well. But we do see the Hood begin to get hired by Batman to do a certain job. A job where you have Batman wanting the Hood to break into MI5. Now, when it comes to MI5, that is the Secret Service. Batman wants the Hood to break in to get information for him. Now, for the Hood, he can't do a job for free. Now, for the Hood, he does not want money. He wants information. And so you have Batman say, listen, I got info on a ship coming in from Gotham that's doing some illegal activities as well. So with this info, I believe it should be good enough to hire you for your services to help me out. And so for the Hood, he agrees to help out Batman to break into MI5 to get the info that Batman is looking for. Now, right after you have the Hood leave, we do learn that Bruce Wayne was tied to a pole that was right behind him to kind of make it seem like he can stand up perfectly well. But in reality, he can't. Now, for Batman, he's still recovering. So doing that is kind of hurting him a whole lot. But either way, once you have the Hood leave, you have Bruce Wayne and Alfred being able to get away before the Hood can see Batman struggling to get away. But now we have to pick up with the character known as Mr. Asp. Now for Mr. Asp, he is the one who wanted Sandra Kinsolving, but also got Jack Drake. Now this gives us our first full look of the character, but we also see him meeting up with another character known as Colonel Vega. Now for Mr. Asp and Vega, they're going to work together in this storyline. Now for Asp, we also learned that he had just bought a brand new manor, a brand new building called Montley Hall. Now Montley Hall is very important for today's storyline. And the reason why, because every year in that hall, there is a special ball that takes place in that area in that hall. And so with him now being the new owner of the place, he wants to make sure there is another ball in the hall. And so he wants to make sure the tradition continues on. But either way, for Mr. Asp and also Vega, we see the two characters go into a secret area in the hall where we see that Sandra Kinsolving and Jack Drake are being held in that area. Now we learn very quickly here that for Mr. Asp and Sandra, there is some kind of connection. She knows him very well. Now for Mr. Asp, he tells us that the reason why he went after Sandra is because of her powers to heal other people. He loves the idea of her powers and wants to use it for his own personal need. Now for Sandra, she does tell him that she will not use her powers for his entertainment. But then you have Mr. Asp begin to beat down on Jack Drake to force her to agree to actually help him out. Now we have to transition back over to Bruce Wayne and also Alfred. Now for Bruce, it's really him trying to explain why in the world that he had hired the Hood to break into MI5. Now, we already know why. The man can't do it. He's still recovering. But for Bruce Wayne, he explained to us that he realized that Jack Drake was not the main target of the kidnapping, that it was Sandra Kinsolving. And so he was able to find a name of somebody who was connected to Sandra Kinsolving, and that would be Mr. Asp. But the problem is, every single time he thought he had a lead on that person, it would go into a dead end. And the reason why, because MI5 was blocking anybody for being able to get any kind of information on Mr. Asp. And so that is why he hired the Hood, to break into MI5 to get the info that Bruce was looking for. Now you do have Bruce fall asleep. Now when he does fall asleep, he begins to think of all the different women that he had been with and fallen in love with. Like for Selena Kyle, she was the first. Then Poison Ivy. Then there was Talia al Ghul. Let's not forget Vicky Vale. But then most recently, Sandra Kinsolving. And of course, that's the main reason why he wants to find Sandra, because he's madly in love with her. But then you have Alfred wake up Bruce because it's now midnight, and they were supposed to meet up with the Hood at midnight to get that info that Bruce was looking for. Now I want to jump back over to Sandra and also Asp. Now we had just learned that for Sandra, she has the ability to heal other people. Now here's the catch. She has to touch other people to properly heal them up. But for Asp here, we do learn that he has the ability to amplify her powers so that she no longer has to touch anybody to properly heal them. She can do it from a good distance. Now, while you have the two characters working together, we do learn that for Vega, he has some kind of equipment with him that is able to capture the energy waves that Asp and Sandra are putting out. You have Vega being able to revert that type of energy waves into a new type of energy waves, where instead of properly healing somebody, they could possibly kill somebody. And so you have Vega use a rat as a way to test out his new type of energy waves, where you do have a rat just die just like that. Now, for Bruce and also Alfred, you have the two characters being able to get the info from the Hood that he has stolen from MI5. Now, when it comes to information, it tells Bruce everything he needs to know about Mr. Asp, or everything he needs to know for the time being to hopefully find Mr. Asp, to hopefully find Sandra and also Jack as well. And so for Bruce, he just learned that Monkley Hall is going to have another ball this year again. A huge event that should allow Bruce and Alfred to sneak in, find Sandra, find Jack, and hopefully get the heck out of there. And so as we dive into Shadow of the Bad issue number 22, we do pick up with Bruce and Alfred heading over to Monkley Hall to meet up with Mr. Asp. Now, when it comes to Bruce Wayne, he's going to wear a disguise. And matter of fact, he's pretending to be somebody known as Sir Hemingford Grey. Now, Hemingford Grey is a way to avoid anybody realizing who he truly is, but again, to also get very close to Mr. Asp to hopefully find Sandra Kinsolving. Now, for Bruce and also Alfred, on their way over to Monkley Hall, they do run into a group of people who are going out of their way to hunt down a fox. Now, for the hunting party, while they're trying to go after their, target, they're then stopped by a group of people who are usually well known of going out of their way to disrupt hunting parties when they're trying to hunt down animals in the area. Now, for the people who are involved with the hunting party, they try to fight against the people who have ruined their hunting session. Now, for Bruce Wayne, he does step in and beat down on the people who are trying to hunt down that innocent fox. Now, right after you have Bruce do that, he then talks to one of the people who is trying to ruin the hunting party's fun time. And that would be George Cross. Now, when it comes to George Cross, Bruce was able to realize that George Cross is the Hood from the last chapter. Now, for Bruce Wayne, he was able to realize that if the Hood is here, it's all because he asked the Hood to break into MI5 to get that file on Mr. Asp, which most likely means that the Hood had read the file and realized there's something going on with Mr. Asp, and he also has to stop Asp as well to figure out what Asp is possibly up to. But either way, you do have the two characters go their separate ways. But when we jump back over to Sandra Kinsolving and also Mr. Asp, we see the two characters still working together to heal the same guy over and over again, because we learn here that since the ending of the first chapter, going into the second chapter, hours have passed by. But of course, they have her healing the same guy over and over again. Now for Sandra, she's getting very tired, and you have Asp walk her back to her cell, but she didn't ask him, "What are you up to?" And so he tells her that we're trying to store all the energy that you and I put out to use that energy as a way to cure diseases across the world. Now, we already know that is not true at all. But for Sandra here, she's kind of like, okay, I don't believe you either. But at the same time, she has no choice to do whatever he says, because if she doesn't, then most likely they're going to kill off Jack Drake, who's also very sick as well. Now, for Mr. Amp, he does get called away. And the reason why, because, well, they have company. And that would be Bruce Wayne, who's still pretending to be Hemingford Gray. Now, for Bruce here as Hemingford Gray, he's saying that he used to live in the home many years ago. And he would love the opportunity to walk around the place, to kind of get a feel of the place he used to live in many years ago. Now, for Bruce, this is him saying, like, you know what? It should give me the chance to find Sandra, but to also find Jack as well. Now, for Mr. Amp, he tells Hemingford, Bruce Wayne, that no, you're not allowed to be in my home at all. Matter of fact, can you leave? Now, for Hemingford, he says, fine, I'll leave, but you do have Bruce being able to place bugs around the home. And the reason why? To give him the chance to listen in on any conversation had inside the home. Now, you also have Bruce remember there is a ball tonight inside the home. And so he tells Mr. Amp, hey, don't worry. Matter of fact, I heard that you're having the yearly ball here once again. So I'll be back here later so that I will have the chance to see my old home still being used in the proper way. Now, we also learn what, when it comes to Vega and also Mr. Amp are trying to do. You see, earlier we saw they're trying to store the energy of Sandra canceling powers in containers. And the reason why, because they can now revert that energy into, well, a deadly wave of energy to kill people around them very easily. And so trying to put that type of energy inside a helmet. So that helmet would then have the ability to release that energy on people around them, killing them in a matter of seconds. And so for Mr. Amp, he can become a very deadly person by just walking around the place and saying, you know what, you can die, and then use that energy to kill somebody. But now we have to transition over to Bruce Wayne. Now, when we do, we see that Bruce realized that the bugs that he had placed inside the home of Mr. Amp, they're not coming in clear. And the reason why, because he's too far away. And so now he has to go back near the home of Mr. Amp so that he can hear all the different conversations that are happening inside the home, except he is not the only person trying to do that. You also have the Hood there as well, because again, the Hood saw the file of Mr. Amp and want to know everything about him. And matter of fact, it's perfect timing. And the reason why, because, well, you have the MI5 appear, the Secret Service appear to talk to Mr. Amp. Now, before we're able to learn what they're up to with Mr. Amp, we have to jump back over to Alfred. And the reason why, because you have Alfred get a call from Tim Drake. Now, this is Alfred telling Tim that they're getting very close and saving his father. But the problem is that you have Tim Drake now telling Alfred what's happening back in Gotham right now. By this point in the whole idea of Knightquest the Search, John Paul Valley has gone off the deep end, becoming darker, more aggressive. And matter of fact, he's no longer working alongside with Tim Drake. And so for Alfred, it's kind of like, that is kind of concerning, but still, we got to save your dad, but also Sandra Ken solving as well. But let's go ahead and jump back over to Mr. Amp, because when we do, we see Mr. Amp having that meeting with the MI5 agent, where we do learn here that the Secret Service had brought Mr. Amp in to work on a project that's really off the books, meaning that if anybody finds out about this project, every single person involved will most likely be sent to prison. Now, we also see here the MI5 agent tell Mr. Amp that the Hood had broke into their building to look at his file. And the question is right now, why would anybody do that for? Now, for the MI5 agent, he tells Mr. Amp, I want to see the project very soon in action. So I'll be back here tonight at the ball to see the project in action. Because again, I want to make sure that we are getting our money's worth. So while you have the ball begin, you have all the different guests arrive, including Bruce Wayne. You have Mr. Amp Vega, and also the MI5 agent in the secret dungeon in the home of Mr. Amp. Now, you do have Sandra once again give out that energy she uses to heal other people, except now you have Mr. Amp wearing the helmet, and with him wearing the helmet, that type of energy is changed into, well, a death kind of energy, where he's then able to send that energy over to a nearby village. And every single person in that village is killed off in a matter of seconds, just like that. This man had created one of the most powerful weapons on Earth at this exact moment. Getting into the ending of the second chapter, we do pick up with Bruce Wayne walking around in disguise, hoping to find Sandra and also Jack. But while walking around, he sees Mr. Amp, but he also sees Sandra. Now he calls out to her, and she says to his face, "I have no idea who you are." And she continues to walk away. Now, this could be her just trying her best to play along to keep Jack Drake alive, but at the same time, it's Bruce Wayne right now wearing a disguise. So yeah, most likely, she has no idea who he is. And so as we dive into the final chapter for today's video, we do see that you have Mr. Asp get very upset when you have Bruce Wayne still in disguise continuing to try to get the attention of Sandra. Now for Sandra here, she keeps saying that she has no idea who he is. But again, he continues to try to get her attention, to understand who he truly is. Of course, being Bruce Wayne. But you have Sandra just walk away, and you then have Mr. Asp tell his guards to take care of Bruce Wayne, who's again is still in disguise. But now we have to jump back over to that village. Now, when we do, you have the Hood arrive to see that everyone in that village had died. But also you have Vega and his partner arrive as well to make sure that their invention had also worked. And so once you have the Hood realize that there are other people nearby, like Vega and his assistant, you have the Hood begin to chase those two people down. Now, we do get a couple of pages where we do see Bruce Wayne being able to take down the two guards who was taking him away earlier. You do have some other guards try to help out by taking down Bruce Wayne. But again, this Bruce Wayne, he has all these different kind of gadgets in his disposal to take down all the guards that Mr. Asp has sent at him. And so now with all the guards being done, he can now refocus in trying to get Sandra the heck out of there, including Jack Drake as well. And really, when it comes to Mr. Asp, he's very upset about the fact that somebody out there may know who Sandra is. And he's asking her, who in the world was that man? Now, for Sandra, she's not telling him anything he wants to know. And so for him, it's about time to go ahead and cut some loose ends. Of course, he's talking about Jack Drake. But we have to transition back over to the Hood. And the reason why, because earlier we saw the Hood try to chase down Vega and also his assistant. But the problem is Vega and his assistant were able to get the jump on the Hood. And so he is struggling fighting against them. And so he has to call out for help. And he shoots up a flare. Now with them doing that, you have Bruce Wayne still in disguise being able to see the flare and go help out the Hood. And so you have the two characters work together to take down Vega and also his assistant. But you also have the Hood tell Bruce like, hey, listen, those two guys were stealing dead bodies from this village, and I have no idea why. And so for Bruce, he realized he needs to hurry back over to the home of Mr. Asp to figure out what exactly is going on here. But now we have to jump over to Mr. Asp and also Sandra. Now, you have the two characters run into basically the MI5 agent where they tell him like, hey, listen, somebody recognized Sandra here at the ball. And that is a huge problem. Now, you have the agent tell Asp they have to get the heck out of here right now. Get to your chopper and fly away from this place. Now, before they do that, you have Asp tell the MI agent, you need to help out Vega and his assistant collect our test subject for our project. Of course, they are talking about all the dead bodies in that village area. But when you have the MI5 agent and his partner get outside, they are then confronted by Bruce Wayne, and their main goal is to stop him. But luckily for Bruce Wayne, you have the Hood being able to take them down, allowing Bruce Wayne to continue on inside the home of Mr. Asp to hopefully save Sandra and also Jack Drake. But luckily for Bruce Wayne, he does find Jack Drake, which is great. But the problem is you have Mr. Asp and also Sandra being able to leave on a different helicopter. So once again, he was unable to save the woman he loves so much. Now, with that being said, you did have the Hood tell Bruce Wayne about all the dead bodies in the area because apparently you have Mr. Asp use his new device and every single person who was inside the hall. Everybody had died except for Bruce Wayne, the Hood, and also Alfred. But for Bruce Wayne, he now knows the hunt is on for Mr. Asp to hopefully save the woman he loves. And this is where okay, so it's time for us to get back into our coverage over Batman Knightquest the Series. Now, just in case we have some new people following along with us, I kind of want to sit down and explain what is Knightquest the Series all about. So, when it came to Batman Nightfall, for most people, it's technically a trilogy. You have Nightfall, Knightquest, and also Night's End. But when it came to Knightquest, it was technically broken up into two different storylines, where you had Knightquest the Crusade and Knightquest the Series. Now, when it came to the Crusade, it was all about John Paul Valley being Batman in Gotham City, but slowly watching him kind of go down a dark path while being Batman. But when it came to Knightquest the Series, it was more about Bruce Wayne going around the world to hopefully find two people, Sandra Kinsolving and Jack Drake, because at the end of Nightfall, we saw those two characters get kidnapped by, well, some bad people who are very close to Sandra Kinsolving. You see, in the earlier chapters of the search, we were left to believe that the reason why Jack and also Sandra was kidnapped is because, well, Jack Drake might have some enemies out there. But we come to find out that's not the case at all. Matter of fact, the reason why they were kidnapped is because somebody who is related to Sandra Kinsolving, and that would be her brother, who's right now calling himself Mr. Asp. Now, we also learned in our last video, or really last couple videos, when it came to Sandra Kinsolving, the reason why she's a doctor in DC Comics is because she has an ability to heal other people. Now, when it comes to her brother, we had learned that he has the ability to amplify the powers of Sandra Kinsolving to allow her to heal people from a good distance. Now, when it comes to Mr. Asp, he's not really in the market to help people across the entire world. Instead, what he wants to do is he wants to use a new device that he had created to take the energy that him and Sandra put out and convert that energy into a new type of energy that goes around and kills people from a distance to allow him to get whatever he wants, money, revenge, and the list goes on. Now, there is something else we have to remember, and that would be Bruce Wayne in his back. You see, at the end of Batman Nightfall, you have Bane break the bat. And so for Bruce Wayne, his back has not properly healed up. That's why in the earlier parts of Knightquest the Series, you had the Justice League Task Force helping out Bruce Wayne to hopefully save Jack Drake and also Sandra Kinsolving. But as the search storyline went on, we began to see Batman trying his best to help out where he can, even though his back is still not properly healed up. Now, by this point in our coverage over Knightquest the Series, Batman was able to get Jack Drake back to safety. But the problem is Mr. Asp still has Sandra Kinsolving, and this man is not trying to give up until he is able to get her back. Now, the thing is, for Bruce Wayne, at first, he kind of believes that maybe Sandra Kinsolving is trying to help out Mr. Asp. And the reason why he believes that, because at the end of the last video, he got close to her and asked her, "Do you you know who I am? She says no. And so for Bruce Wayne, he believed that maybe Sandra is trying to help out Mr. Asp. But in reality, she's being forced to help him out no matter what. Now, as we dive into today's storyline, I do want to say that it does take place in Legends of the Dark Knight, issue number 59, 60, and 61. Now, getting into the opening pages of issue number 59, we pick up with Bruce Wayne and Alfred paying a visit to a doctor. Now, this section right here is really more reminding us again that Batman got his back broken at the end of Nightfall. But here's the thing. It's the doctor just getting straight to the point by going off at Bruce Wayne. And honestly, I like this part a lot because it's the doctor saying like, dude, you got severely injured. And instead of staying home and allowing your body to rest, to allow your back to properly heal up, you're traveling across the world doing whatever you want to do to make things worse for your back. Are you completely insane or what? And so you have the doctor tell Alfred and Bruce Wayne that if he does not stop soon, the damage to his back will only get worse over time. Now, you also have the doctor tell Bruce Wayne, listen, there is a surgery out there that could possibly help you. But here's the thing. If you do get that surgery, you're gonna need to rest. Do you understand? Now, Alfred and Bruce, they leave. And to Alfred, he believes like, okay, this is perfect. We'll go back to Gotham, get the surgery, you'll rest, and everything will be better. Except you have Bruce say, no, we must go after Sandra Kinsolving because he still believes that Sandra is, well, working with Mr. Asp. He has to stop both of them. And for Bruce Wayne, he was really hurt by the idea of Sandra working with Mr. Asp because we have to remember that before Nightfall and going into the end of Nightfall, we saw Bruce Wayne over time begin to fall in love with Sandra. Matter of fact, the dude was going to tell her that he was Batman. But of course, she got kidnapped and he couldn't do it. But now seeing her supposedly working for Mr. Asp, it really does hurt him a whole lot. And now we jump over to Sandra Kinsolving. Now to Sandra, she believes that she now has the upper hand on Mr. Asp. And the reason why, because Jack Drake is no longer around. When they got kidnapped, and really she found out why they got kidnapped because of Mr. Asp being related to her as her stepbrother, she thought, okay, you know what? I'm not going to help you. But then you have Mr. Asp beat down on Jack Drake. But with Jack Drake no longer being around, he cannot use that against her. And she says, listen, I will no longer help you at all. But for Mr. Asp, he had created a serum that allows somebody to be subdued to other people's will. And so right now, for Sandra, she does try to get away, but she is stopped by one of his henchmen, and he does inject the serum into her body. And so now, unfortunately, she has to do whatever he says to do. Now, she will try to fight against his control, but the drug is really strong. But for a brief moment, we do see Bruce Wayne and Alfred get a call from Tim Drake. Now, you had Tim being able to collect information on Sandra Kinsolving to find out that her real name is Sandra Asplin. Now, for Tim Drake, he says, listen, she was adopted when she was 6 years old. Now, her father died, but her mother is still alive and apparently still lives in Slag Lake. And that gives Bruce Wayne a lead to hopefully find Sandra, but to also learn more about her. Now, while you have Bruce and Alfred on the phone, they are then attacked by different henchmen who work for Mr. Asp. Now, for Bruce Wayne, like I said, his back is not properly healed up, but the man still got some gadgets on him to use against his enemies. And so for a few pages, it's really more of Bruce Wayne struggling, but still showing us that no matter what, he's still a hard man to bring down. And so once you have Bruce being able to take out all the henchmen to save his life and also Alfred's life, you have the two characters try to dip out. Now for Alfred, he realized that Bruce is severely in pain right now. That back pain is getting worse and worse. But for Bruce Wayne, he cannot stop. He has to keep going to hopefully find Sandra and stop her and Mr. Asp. Now, this leads us into the origin of Sandra Kinsolving. Now, we learned earlier that she was adopted by the Asp family. We also learned here that Mr. Asp was also adopted as well. Now, when it came to their adoptive father, he was abusive. He would beat Sandra over and over again. And the reason why? Because she was black. He saw black people as evil people. Now you're probably wondering, okay, so why in the world would he take her in for if he does not like black people? Well, while he was beating her, in his mind, he believed he was doing nothing wrong when it came to beating her because she was black. She was evil. And so when it came to their adoptive father, he would just constantly beat them, or her really, over and over again. Now, when it came to Mr. Asp, he would try to step in and protect his stepsister. But he got severely injured. Now, when he got severely injured, that was the moment where you had Sandra find out that she had powers, that she had the ability to heal other people. And so she used her ability to heal her stepbrother. Now, when it came to their adoptive father, he continued to beat her. But then one day they had learned that when it came to Mr. Asp, he had also had the ability to amplify her powers, to make her healing power stronger, but to also do it from a good distance. And so when it came to their adoptive father, who wanted to attack both of them once again, they were trying to use their powers as a way to keep him away from them. Now, like I said, she had the ability to heal people, but the problem was this time she had used her powers to kill off her adoptive father. Ever since that day, when it came to Sandra, she never wanted to use her abilities ever again. And so years have passed by. Now, this story is being told by their adoptive mother over to Bruce Wayne and also Alfred. But here comes the big catch. Now, we learn here that for Mr. Asp, apparently he always hated his adoptive mother. And the reason why, because she never stepped in. Now, back in the old days, as a wife, you did whatever your husband said to do. And so, unfortunately, she was told, do not step in at all when it comes to me beating down on our kids. But for Mr. Asp, that was still not okay. And so for him, he began to hate his mother so much, his adoptive mother. And so you have Mr. Asp go out of his way to force Sandra to use her abilities. Now remember, his powers allow him to amplify her powers. Now, with his new device, the energy they put out, it gets converted into a new type of energy that actually kills people from a distance. And so while you have Miss Asp telling Alfred and Bruce the entire story, out of nowhere, she dies just like that. Because for Mr. Asp and Sandra, with their powers working together with that device, they are a very dangerous force out there in the world. But either way, they had just killed off their adoptive mother. But as we dive into issue number 60, we pick up with Mr. Asp. But now his real name is Benedict Asp, but I'm going to call him Mr. Asp for the rest of the video. Now, for Mr. Asp, you have the character right now talking to one of his henchmen about using the powers of Sandra on another person, and that would be Sir Hemingford Grey. Now, that was the name disguise that Bruce Wayne used as a way to get close to Mr. Asp in his new home to hopefully find Sandra in our last video. And so for Mr. Asp, he realized that there's something going on with Sir Hemingford Grey, and so he wants to use the ability of his helmet, his powers, and Sandra's powers as a way to kill off Grey, Bruce Wayne, before Bruce is able to find him and Sandra and possibly save Sandra from him. And so we transition over to Bruce Wayne and also Alfred. Now the two characters, they're on their way over to Gotham City. Now for Bruce, he got some information from Tim Drake about Mr. Asp. Like for example, his real name being Benedict Asp, but also that Benedict went over to medical school, but he flunked out. Really, he got kicked out. And the reason why, because he was selling organs on the black market. But after doing that, he decided to get into the drug business. And apparently, he has a lot of connections to Santa Prisca. Now, honestly, we already knew that because in our first video over Knightquest the Series, that storyline took place in Santa Prisca. Now, while you have Bruce and Alfred heading over to Gotham City, you have Mr. Asp try to use the powers of Sandra to kill off what he believes is Hemingford Gray. He has no idea that Hemingford Gray is actually Bruce Wayne. And so while trying to tell Sandra, like, hey, listen, you need to think of Hemingford Gray. While you think of him, then use your mind, your powers, my powers, and the power device to go ahead and kill off that person. But because for Sandra, she truly does not know Hemingford Gray, the whole idea does not work at all. Now, if he had known that Hemingford Gray was Bruce Wayne and he had told Sandra to think of Bruce Wayne, then most likely Bruce would have died right then and there. But luckily for Bruce, they have no idea that he is, well, Bruce Wayne and not Hemingford Gray. But Bruce realized they tried to attack him, but the plan did not work because they have no idea who he truly is. Now, for Mr. Asp, he realized that his plan did not work out at all. But either way, he has to move on with his plans. And so now we're going to see him go after a couple of world leaders. Getting back over to Alfred, we see Alfred take Bruce over to a hospital in Gotham City. Now, when they do arrive, you have the doctors tell Bruce the same thing as the last doctor did. You need to rest to let your body properly heal up your back. But again, you have Bruce not listening because while you have Alfred truly believing in the fact that Bruce is now going to rest to let his body heal up, you got Bruce watching the news. And you have the news saying that a couple of world leaders just got a message from, of course, Mr. Asp, demanding money by Thursday. If they don't pay up, he will kill them off. And so for Bruce Wayne, once again, he's saying, you know what? I gotta get back out there. I gotta find Mr. Asp and Sandra Kinsolving and stop them before they kill off a couple of world leaders. Now for Alfred, he tries his best to put his foot down by saying, no, I am tired of seeing you struggle. I am tired of seeing you try to push yourself beyond your limit because sooner or later, you're going to hurt your body so much it can't heal up at all. And so you have Alfred say, if you don't rest and let these doctors help you, I am going to quit. But for Bruce, he can't quit. He wants to stop Sandra so bad. He wants to stop Mr. Asp so bad, he wants to get back out there. And so you have Alfred say, then I quit. I am no longer your butler. And Alfred walks out and leaves the hospital. Now for Alfred, he does leave the hospital, but he goes over to Wayne Manor. Now the reason why? To find John Paul Valley. Because for Alfred, he realized that Bruce is not going to stop. That Bruce will continue to do whatever he can to find Mr. Asp, even though his body is not in the right condition to go after bad guys. But you have Alfred go to John Paul saying, listen, Bruce needs your help. You're the only person who can truly help him. Now for John Paul, it's a quick no. He's like, I am not intrigued at all when it comes to helping out Bruce Wayne. But it's Alfred saying, you are Batman. Like, you are the Batman of Gotham City. Your main goal is to protect the people of Gotham City, to protect this city. And right now, Bruce Wayne needs your protection. But also, there are some bad people who might do some bad things in your city. So step up and be that Batman like you are supposed to be. And so just like that, John Paul is down to help out Bruce Wayne. Now for Alfred, he tells John Paul, if you cannot find Bruce Wayne, you need to look out for Hemingford Gray. And just like that, you have John Paul leave to be Batman, and you have Alfred clean Wayne Manor for the last time because he is quitting being the butler for Bruce Wayne. Now, for Bruce Wayne, he had a game plan. You see, we see Bruce dress up once again as Hemingford Gray. Now, with Bruce doing that, he does cause a disturbance that gets put in the newspaper. This is Bruce hoping that when it comes to Mr. Asp, he'll read the newspaper reading Mr. Hemingford Gray did so and then come to Gotham looking for him and to hopefully stop him once and for all. And honestly, Bruce called it right because Mr. Asp does get a newspaper, read the article, and said, hey, listen, I need you and my best men to go to Gotham City, go to his yacht, grab this Hemingford Gray, and bring him over to me. But now we can transition over to Bruce Wayne. Now, when we do, it's really more Bruce on his yacht. Now, for the people of Gotham, they believe that this yacht belongs to Hemingford Gray, but in reality, it belongs to Bruce Wayne. Now, Bruce has no idea that Alfred went over to John Paul Valley. And so right now, you have John Paul on the outside of the boat watching over Bruce Wayne. Now, for Bruce, he does leave a message behind for Tim Drake. Like, hey, listen, Tim, this is what you have to do just in case my plan does fail. And so it's Bruce Wayne making sure he has a backup plan to stop Mr. Asp just in case he does fail. Now, the ending of the second chapter is really more of John Paul Valley trying to protect Bruce Wayne because he does see a few guys being able to get on a boat. And once they do, they grab somebody who's in a wheelchair. And so for John Paul, he believes, oh, it must be Bruce Wayne and he needs my protection right now. And so you have John Paul beat down the bad guys and save the person in the wheelchair to only find out that's not Bruce Wayne at all. They had tricked him because Bruce Wayne is now being held hostage by the people who work for Mr. Asp. And matter of fact, you have Bruce now being confronted by Mr. Asp. And so as we get into the third chapter, the final chapter, we pick up with John Paul Valley just beating down on the last guy who was in the wheelchair. And we do learn that this guy in the wheelchair and the other people around him, they were just hired to be the decoys so the real people can go into the yacht and grab Bruce Wayne and get the heck out of there. So John Paul Valley had failed for the trick. And now Bruce Wayne is, well, as we already know, being held captive by Mr. Asp. And so when we jump over to Mr. Asp, it's him right now still wanting to know who the heck is Hemingford Gray. Now we already know it's Bruce Wayne, but this guy right here, he has no idea who is Mr. Hemingford Gray. And so you didn't have him tell Bruce, like, listen, me and my sister, we have worked out a technique where we are now able to kill off people from a distance. It's him telling Bruce, like, hey, we're going to use the same technique right now on you once again to hopefully kill you off. Now, when it comes to Sandra, she's not for sure that Hemingford Gray is Bruce Wayne, but she can kind of tell here. Now, for Mr. Apps here, he once again tries to use the drugs that are in her system to control her body and mind, to force her to use her powers once again. Now, like I said, she has no idea if it is Bruce Wayne or Hemingford Gray, but she's also trying to fight against his control thanks to the drugs in her system. And so with all those different things playing a role here, she's not really able to kill off Bruce Wayne once again. Now for Mr. Asp, he's very upset about the fact that he did not kill off Hemingford Gray. And so he tells his henchmen, okay, put these two in 2 rooms right next to one another, and we'll try again soon here in a moment. But then the story shifts over to Robin and also Jim Gordon. Now, this is Jim Gordon telling Robin, like, hey, listen, your mentor, Batman, had also contacted me as well. Now, when it came to Batman contacting Jim Gordon, Bruce Wayne, Bruce told Jim, I need you to monitor a certain kind of radio frequency. And the reason why, because if you do that, you then should be able to locate the person behind the supposed attack on that village in our last video, but also the person trying to go after the world leaders as well. Now, for Jim Gordon, he was able to get a location, but here comes the big problem. That location is Santa Prisca, and right now the American government has no connections with Santa Prisca at all, which means that Jim nor Tim can go over there at all to help out Bruce with his situation. But now we're able to get over to Bruce Wayne. Now, when we do, we see Bruce Wayne being able to wake up and start moving around the place. Now, while doing that and trying to find Sandra, he runs into that one henchman again who works for Mr. Asp. Now, you have Batman being able to take this guy down very easily and continue on to hopefully find Sandra. Now, once you have Bruce being able to find Sandra, you have the two characters talk to one another. Now, their whole conversation is really more the story kind of reminding us about the origin of Sandra, but at the same time, it's her telling Bruce like, hey dude, listen, I already knew that you were Batman. I had this feeling, but I was kind of afraid to tell you. But now here's Bruce confirming like, yeah, I'm Batman, or I was Batman, but now somebody else is Batman. Now, while the two characters are talking to one another, they have no idea there's a bug in the room to allow Mr. Asp to hear in on their conversation. And so while you have the two characters talking to one another, this man is learning everything. Like, oh, wait, Hemingford Gray is Bruce Wayne, but Bruce Wayne is Batman? This makes so much sense of how he was able to keep up with us. Either way, it's time for Bruce Wayne to go. And so now we are able to get into the final part of this storyline, the final two parts of the storyline, where you do have Sandra and Bruce Wayne trying their best to fight against both Mr. Asp and also his assistant, his henchman. Now, the battle does go on for a few pages, and with Bruce Wayne being, still heavily injured, and also Sandra still being affected by the drugs, the battle does get dragged out here, but at the very end, you have Sandra use her ability, instead of healing Mr. Asp, actually killing him off. Just like that, as a way to save Bruce Wayne. Now, for our two heroes, they are severely injured thanks to the battle. But then you have Sandra being able to use her energy to fully heal up Bruce Wayne, which of course means he is no longer injured when it comes to his back injury. This begins the process of Bruce Wayne coming back to Gotham as Batman. But either way, now the ending of this book is kind of sad because it's really more of Bruce Wayne kind of telling us that when it came to Sandra, when she had used her powers to heal up Bruce Wayne to fix his back, well, unfortunately, it did a number to her body. Now, for me personally, I kind of feel like the drugs as well, because with the drugs, you have Mr. Asp make Sandra relive the worst moments of her life. And so with those two factors coming together, it kind of led into Sandra go back into a child mind-like state where she now thinks and acts like a child. And so you have Bruce Wayne take her over to an estate that he bought. And matter of fact, he brought all these different people in to take care of her because, again, she now thinks and acts like a child. And honestly, that's pretty messed up as a way to remove a character out of Bruce Wayne's life, especially a character he loved and cared for. But yeah, that's the end for Sandra Kinsolving. And so technically, this ends the whole idea of Batman Knightquest the Series. There was a Robin issue that kind of got thrown into the very end, and we might cover before we cover Night's End, the final part of the Nightfall trilogy. But yeah, guys, this is where I'm going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But see you next time, guys. Later. Okay, so it's time for us to continue our coverage over Batman Knightquest. Now, technically, when I had wrapped up Knightquest Crusade and also Knightquest The Search, I thought we were officially done. And we could go ahead and move on to Night's End, the final part of the Nightfall trilogy. But unfortunately, I forgot one single book that ends up Knightquest for us, but then leads us into Night's End. And that would be Robin issue number 7, because it takes place right after you have Bruce and also Jack Drake come back into Gotham. But for Bruce Wayne, he has no idea what has been happening in Gotham while he was gone, and you had John Paul Valley being Batman. And so it's Bruce Wayne discovering that he has no choice but to come back and be the Batman for Gotham City all over again. Now, as we get into the opening pages for today's video, I kind of want to sit down and re-explain the whole idea of Nightfall. Now, as we all know, when it comes to Nightfall, it was a trilogy. You had Nightfall, Knightquest, and Night Sin. Now, when it came to Knightquest, it was broken up into 2 different storylines. You had Knightquest, The Crusade, and Knightquest, The Search. Now, The Crusade was really more about us following John Paul being Batman for a short period of time. But for The Search, it was more of Bruce Wayne and Alfred going out of their way to find Jack Drake and Sandra Kinsolving and bring them back home to Gotham City. Now, when it came to Search, you have Bruce being able to accomplish that goal. And so as we get into the opening pages for today's video, it's really more of Tim Drake realizing that his father is finally coming back home. And so we pick up with Tim and also Bruce Wayne waiting for Jack Drake's plane to arrive. Now, while you have the 2 characters waiting, it leads into more Bruce Wayne telling Tim that he is thinking about retiring. Because to him, John Paul has done nothing wrong at all. Because Tim did not tell Bruce anything at all when it came to John Paul being more aggressive. That John Paul had killed a man. That John Paul is crossing some lines when it comes to being a hero. Now, before Tim is able to tell Bruce Wayne anything at all, Jack's plane arrived. And so Tim has to go see his father that he had been missing for a very long time. And so while you have Tim, Jack, and Bruce Wayne heading back home because they're neighbors, you have Tim wondering like, should I tell Bruce Wayne anything at all when it comes to John Paul Valley? Because to Tim, he realized that Bruce is happy about the idea of retiring, the idea of no longer being Batman. To Bruce Wayne, John Paul must be doing a great job because Tim has not told him anything at all. Now, once you have our 3 characters get over to the home of the Drakes, and once you have Tim being able to put his father to bed, you didn't have Tim call Bruce Wayne over because Tim, he realized that, you know what? Gotham needs a real hero, somebody who's not like John Paul Valley. And so you have Tim pull Bruce to the side. And so as we get into the next section, it's Bruce Wayne discovering how bad things have gotten while he was gone. He goes over to Wayne Manor and he realized that Wayne Manor is torn up because John Paul has not been trying to take care of the place at all. Now for Bruce, he's also upset with Tim Drake because to him, he left Tim behind to say, hey Tim, I need you to stay here just in case anything happens to Gotham or if anything happens to John Paul Valley. If anything does happen, please tell me. It's Bruce saying, I trust you to help me out. And unfortunately, you broke my trust because now look where we are right now. We have a Batman out there who should not be Batman at all. And so you have Bruce and also Tim Drake being able to break into the Batcave that you had John Paul seal off from Wayne Manor. Now, while you have the 2 characters in the Batcave, you didn't have John Paul Valley arrive. Now, when he does walk into the Batcave, he's wondering, why in the world Bruce Wayne is in his Batcave? Like, yes, it belongs to Bruce Wayne. But when Bruce said, hey, John Paul, you're now Batman, to John Paul, everything is his. It's now his Batcave. Now for Bruce, he tells John Paul, dude, I got word from Tim that you have been going crazy out there in Gotham and you have to be stopped at this exact moment. But it's John Paul saying, first off, no. Secondly, it was you who had decided that I should become the next Batman. And honestly, I have been doing a great job. Because here's your problem, Bruce. You are afraid to cross that line. And honestly, with me crossing that line and putting those bad guys away for good, you now have more people out there being able to live their lives. Now, you have Bruce try his best to fight against John Paul, but the problem is Bruce is still trying to get back into that Batman form of his. And so, unfortunately, you have John Paul being able to easily defeat Bruce Wayne. He walks away, and you have John Paul say, "When I come back to the Batcave, I better not see you here at all." Now, for Tim, he's kind of like, enough is enough. I must stop John Paul here and now. And so you have Robin get into Redbird. Now, Redbird was Robin's version of the Batmobile, but either way, it's Tim Drake trying his best to run John Paul Valley off the road, who's currently in the Batmobile. But unfortunately for Robin, he's not really able to bring down John Paul that easily. And so Robin has no choice but to go ahead and retreat and go ahead and meet back up Bruce Wayne once again to think of a new game plan on how to bring down John Paul Valley. And so you have the book really end on the note where you have Robin meet up with Bruce Wayne at the secret barn. Now for Bruce Wayne, he realized that he's not really able to bring down John Paul Valley at this exact moment because even though his back is fully healed, his body is not up to par to be Batman. He has to reteach himself all those different skills he used when he was Batman in the past. But he needs somebody to help teach him those moves once again. And so he knows the perfect person to ask to help begin his training, to become the Batman once again, to hopefully bring down John Paul Valley and Knight's End. But this is where we're going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see you on the next comic book video. Later, guys.